of our, believe it or not, one of our oldest ceremonies. Goes back to the time, I'll take the most well-known time, the time of Jacob. Remember, poor Jacob was married to 4 wives. You know what that's for? You shouldn't know from such service. And they were all very competitive. And what happened was, in terms they had 10 children, and not only were the wives competitive, the children were competitive. And Joseph, at that time, was the youngest born. He had a younger brother, Benjamin, who was not yet born. And he was a little snotty kid. He would brag how his father loved him more than anybody else, and the father would brag how smart his son is. And it reached a point where the boys, when they were teenagers, decided once and for all to get rid of him. So they had a little debate, and one of the brothers, how do we kill him? He's our brother. And another brother piped up, he says, you know, not from where we are here watching the sheep. There's a nice pit. And we'll tie him up and throw him into the pit and let nature take its course. So when Joseph came out to feed the boys, that's exactly what they did. Now he had, you remember the story of the coat of many colors. His father loved him so much that he gave him either a shirt or a coat or a jersey with many colors in it, but he was the only one to receive it, and that was a symbol of his father's prejudice against the other boys, as they saw it, for Joseph. So they took off that coat, tied him up, threw him into the pit, and sat down to eat as he's begging for forgiveness. And then a caravan comes by, and they said, why should we let him die? We'll sell him as a slave. We'll kill 2 problems at once. We'll be rid of him and we'll make a little spending money in the process. And that's what they do. They come back to Jacob. They say, we think Joseph is dead. And they had taken this little sweater, a coat of many colors, killed the sheep and dipped the sweater into the blood. And they said, we think this is Joseph's, like they didn't know. And Jacob was so overwhelmed with grief, he couldn't say anything. He just tore his garment. And from that time till now, we say that the tearing of a garment or a cloth is a symbol of the fact that our heart it's rended our heart, it's torn our heart apart. Traditionally, immediate relatives wear the ribbon, but anybody that would like to, you're welcome to wear a ribbon. Children do it on the left, everybody else does it on the right. So I'm going to start the parade. Don't do anything yet. Children on the left, everybody else on the right. And don't stick yourself, whatever you do, please. Can you imagine for 4,000 years Jews have been doing this?
It's tradition.
I know, it boggles the mind. That and circumcision.
Not yet.
I don't remember which one. I think one of the Scandinavian countries just banned circumcision.
Banned what?
Circumcision.
Wow.
And there's a big hubbub about that. All right? So everybody that wants a ribbon, please stand. Put on the ribbon in the right place. Family on the left. Everybody, family on the left, everybody else on the right. And please repeat after me.
Excuse me, sir. When you say family, does that include
Immediate, anybody, friends, if you want to do it. If we have some extra ribbons here, absolutely.
Cousins. That's a cousin.
You're just not obligated, that's all. It's not a sin to do it.
Some grandchildren, sure.
So please repeat after me. Baruch, Atah, Adonai, Eloheinu, Melech, Ha'olam, Dayan, Ha'emet. Blessed art thou, Lord our God, King of the universe, righteous judge. Adonai Natan, Vadonai Lakach, Yehi Shem Adonai Mevorach. The Lord has given, the Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. And please, these are self-cutting ribbons from the bottom up, so tear it halfway up. And then after you've torn it, you may be seated. I'm just coming here to get my manual. Let's go. כל אומר קרא ואמר מה קרא כל הבשר חציר וכל חסדו חציץ השדה יבש חציר נבל ציץ כי רוח אדוני נשבה בו אכן חציר העם יבש חציר נבל ציץ ודבר אלוהינו יקום לעולם. A voice says, cry out, and I say, what shall I cry? All flesh is grass, and all its beauty is like the flower of the field. The grass withers, the flower fades when a wind of the Lord blows upon it. Surely the people are grass, the grass withers, the flower fades, but the word of our God shall endure forever. Tender as a father with his children, the Lord is merciful with his worshipers. He knows how we are fashioned. He remembers that we are but dust. The days of men are as grass. He flourishes as a flower in the field. The wind passes over it and it is gone, and no one can recognize where it grew. But the Lord's compassion for his worshipers, his righteousness to children's children remain age after age unchanging. I'd like to read Eshet Chayil, traditional Jewish home. It's the job of the papa to praise his wife in front of the family, especially the children, and then to bless the children. I'm doing a contemporary translation of the Eshet Chayil, a woman of valor. A woman of valor, a priceless find, a treasure more precious than pearls, an unfailing asset to her husband. She assures him a life of contentment. Eager, energetic, farsighted, and strong, her family knows she will always be near. Her optimism never wavers, her industriousness never flags. She extends a hand to the poor, she offers her hands to the needy. She projects strength and dignity and is confident about the future. Her speech abounds with wisdom, she soothes everyone with words of kindness. Her children bring her fulfillment, her husband sings her virtues. Many women have excelled, but you surpass them all. Charm is a mask and beauty is vain, but a righteous woman is deserving of praise. Her handiwork attests to her merit. All her actions bring her honor. Fear not death. We are all destined to die. We share it with all who ever lived and with all who ever will be. Bewail the dead, hide not your grief, do not restrain your mourning, but remember that continuing sorrow is worse than death. When the dead are at rest, let their memory rest and be consoled when the soul departs. Death is better than a life of pain, and eternal rest than constant sickness. Seek not to understand what is too difficult for you. Search not for what is hidden from you. Be not over-occupied with what is beyond you, for you have been shown more than you can understand. As a drop of water in the sea, as a grain of sand on the shore, a man's few days in eternity. The good things in life last for limited days, but a good name endures forever. O God our Father, you redeem our souls from the grave. You are the rock of our salvation. Forsake us not in time of trouble, in days of distress and desolation. Help us to endure, O Lord, for we have placed our hope in you. The mysteries of life and death are beyond human understanding. We are perplexed and overwhelmed when pain and anguish befall those whom we love. In sorrow, confronted by death, which has taken Marilyn and I from our midst, we feel our own frailty. Like delicate flowers, we too flourish only for a day. Eternal God, Shepherd of Israel, guide us your flock with love and with compassion. If in our grief and desolation we stray from you, do not abandon us, but draw us closer to you. Grant solace and comfort unto those who mourn. May their lives together help to sustain them and add to the blessing which is theirs in the memory of the life of their beloved Marilyn and I. In the valley of the shadow of death, beside the still waters and in the green pastures, you, O Lord, are our shepherd, our strength and our shield, our stay and our comfort throughout all our days. And let us say, Amen. Now I'm going to appoint our assistant rabbis. You're on first, sir.
Do I get a badge?
No, but
That's
I'll,
just a-
I'll give you my membership list. You can talk to them and listen to the complaints. Excuse me.
First, on behalf of my family, I want to thank you for joining us for this celebration of life for my mom, some of you driving many hours. She had a lasting impact on everyone that she met, and no celebration of life would be complete without a recap of a long and mostly wonderful life. Marilyn Betty Kaiser was born in the Flatbush area of Brooklyn, New York on July the 3rd, 1925. Her father, George Kaiser, one of a pair of brothers who married sisters, suddenly died when she was 6 months old. Her mother, Irene Greenstein Kaiser, became a single mom just prior to the Great Depression. Irene had a particularly tough time, and Mom has often said that her mother was the most gorgeous woman you ever saw in your life. She was magnificent, but she wasn't a mother because she always lamented her circumstances. There was very little money, and Irene had to work, so Marilyn was essentially raised by her grandparents, and they at least gave her some stability, if nothing else. Irene did not remarry until much later in life. Childhood for Mom was simple. She took accordion lessons and practiced tap dancing in her basement for 10 years. She also attended Hebrew school 2 days a week, but was not bat mitzvahed since girls were not allowed at that time. Always one not to be denied, Marilyn studied and became a bat mitzvah at the age of 81 in 2006. She took a trolley car to school every day, and once when she was late, she told her teacher the trolley had a flat. She was 16 when she graduated from Erasmus Hall High School. You only knew when you were graduating if you were tapped on the shoulder during an assembly in the auditorium. Although she attended college after high school, she never graduated and regretted that all her life. Her day consisted of bookkeeping classes in the morning to learn typing and shorthand, work in a grocery store in the afternoon making $16 a week, and attending Brooklyn College at night. When she was 19, Mom had become very close to her Aunt Ethel and Uncle Charles, and her first cousins, Rosalind and Aileen. So she left New York with them and moved to Daytona Beach. Charles was her father's brother, and Ethel was her mother's sister. Irene was working at Abraham and Straus in New York in the fur department and could not go with them, but moved down a few years later with Mom's grandmother. It was in Daytona Beach that Mom met her knight on a white horse, my father, Alan. Some customers of my dad called Marilyn to try to set something up. Mom insisted that Alan call her first, but he was reluctant. The customers threatened to pull their order if Alan did not call her, so Dad made a wise business decision. Their first date was dinner and a drive on the beach, and they didn't get home until after 4 a.m. Irene, who almost called the police, refused to allow Mom to see Alan ever again. Needless to say, they were soon engaged, were married on May 28, 1950, and were together for 64 years before my dad passed in 2014. They honeymooned in Havana, Cuba, which was right before everybody was trying to get out of Cuba. I came along in 1954 and Debbie in 1956. Dad was a traveling salesman, often leaving home on Monday morning and returning home Friday afternoon, so Mom essentially raised us by herself. She used to say, "You just wait till your father gets home." But we would either meet him in the driveway on Friday afternoon with hugs and kisses, or Mom would just forget. Mom worked as a bookkeeper during tax season for various accounting firms. She later became controller for 12 years at the Ormond Hotel, which was founded by Henry Flagler and was frequented by the Rockefeller family. Mom was insistent that her children get an education and go to college, and that her son become a doctor. When I told Mom my law degree actually was a doctorate, she was satisfied. Family, education, Judaism, and charity were the most important values in her life. My sister and I have our mom and dad to thank for knocking themselves out to ensure we were able to go to college and had the spiritual background that they both held so dear. My mom beat cancer in 1986 and again in 2014. She tried not ever to let sickness get her down. She was always in the Temple Israel musical plays, and we grew up singing the songs from Fiddler on the Roof. She played Zeitel at the age of 90 in the Lake Seminole Square performance of Fiddler. Most of you know that she loved to dance, even if it meant standing with her walker or bouncing in her seat. Those of you who were there will remember that she danced down the aisle and across the dance floor at 91 years old at Taylor and Bruce's wedding. Finally, I believe that no review of my mother's life would be complete without a story about her very careful and nervous drive. One summer when I was home on break from college, I was coming home from work in the afternoon and encountered a long line of slow-moving cars on Halifax Boulevard, which is a 2-lane road along the river in Daytona Beach. Not being a very patient driver myself, I began to pass them one at a time until I reached the lead car, who was traveling 20 miles an hour in a 45 zone. Yep, it was Mom. I knew better than to pass that one and followed her home. So Mom is now dancing in heaven with her life partner of 70 years. But Mom, please leave the driving to Gigi. I love you, and we are all going to be all right. Thank you.
Thank you, Glenn. Debbie, you're on next.
Thank you all for being here. Someone has aptly said that you begin to understand your mother once you become a mother. You, me, and everyone, we were not this independent and smart and wise the moment we were born, but were raised, disciplined, and taught to be what we are today. And because of that, my brother and I are independent people with confidence and attitude, and it is all because of her. Our lives are a reflection of what our mother has made us. I could thank her every day for the rest of my life, and it still would not be enough. Our mom was the most prepared woman I know. About 3 years ago, she arranged and paid for her funeral. Thank you, Mom. She was an accountant in her career until just a few months ago, she balanced her checkbook to the very penny. 25 cents off drove her crazy, and she would go back and do it all over again until she found the difference. To that thinking, she invested well for her and my father and grew to be in a comfortable position in life for them and us. Thank you, Mom. She documented her investments and kept everything in a black notebook, so guarded that she slept with it on her bed every night. She never wanted anyone else to touch her money, not even her tax attorney son, until she reluctantly had to hand over the reins when she was 94. She was frugal and saved every penny for her kids and grandkids. Thank you, Mom. My mom made me the woman I am today. I can't remember a time when she didn't show up. I'm convinced that I would not have had this life if it weren't for my mom's support every step of the way. Encouragement and emphasis on Jewish values and traditions taught me how to be a good person. Thank you, Mom. Mom was a caring person, a person who needed to be needed, personified by her longing for tenderness, love, and sincerity. She was gentle, warm, and responded to all things bright and beautiful. She taught me how to dress, shop for the best sales, and my dad provided us both with a love of fashion. She was the definition of substance and style. She taught me life lessons, personal integrity, the power of concentration, the value of a smart mind, the need for a sense of humor, and above all, the importance of family. Thank you, Mom. My mom laid the groundwork for her beloved Temple Israel in Daytona Beach. When she got behind a cause, she became an unwavering pillar of support. In our family, giving back to the community was part of being Jewish. She passed along her cherished values to her kids and her grandkids, and she made her presence last by touching the lives of others. She was always raising funds for Jewish causes, from Temple Israel to Hadassah to Federation. She would tell me stories of how when she would call and the person would say, "How much do you need?" before saying hello. And there was also the time she talked a motorcycle company into giving her a motorcycle to raffle off for a Temple fundraiser. She made sure it was during Motorcycle Week in Daytona Beach, and she would walk up to the riders on Main Street to sell tickets. Thank you, Mom, for that gene of never giving up till the job is done. My mom had a great sense of humor. The doctor in the emergency room asked about her symptoms, and she said, "Forget that. Has anyone said how good looking you are?" Or after she gained 7 pounds, and she said, "My men will have to take me the way I am." We didn't grow up with a lot of money, but we grew up with love and laughter. Thank you, Mom. My mom has always been there for her friends. Care for her family and friends resonated in her heart and soul. I know she savored every accomplishment my brother and his wife Madge and me and my husband Brent made in our lives, and was fiercely proud and lived for her grandchildren, Taylor, Logan, Preston, and Gregory, and was just as welcoming to their spouses, Alex and Bruce. She absolutely adored her great-grandchild, Addie, and was actually the mastermind and matchmaker behind Addie's parents meeting on their first day at Florida State University at the Hillel. Thank you, Mom. Mom, you will always remain a presence in my life, especially when the fans are on, or the air conditioning's too cold, or I'm not wearing lipstick, or I'm nervous today. The lights are on, or the TV is on. I'm driving too fast, or the front door's not locked. It's been 6 years since my father left this world, though I can picture his final breath as though he took it 5 minutes ago. Mom, you will always be in my heart as well. And as you would always say, I love you to pieces. May you rest in peace, and thank you, Mom.
Taylor, you're on next. 3 assistant rabbis today.
Hi everyone. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Taylor, Marilyn's only biological granddaughter. Although I'm the only girl, I've never been particularly girly. My Mima was always very accepting of that, but when we would get dressed up, there was always one question she couldn't help but ask. She'd say, "Taylor, don't you want to wear a little lipstick?" For literally the first time ever, today I said yes and put on her favorite bright red lipstick. I feel like a clown, but it's for her. Acceptance was my favorite of Mima's qualities. It didn't matter to her if you were straight, round, square, or triangle, as long as you were kind, and of course, Jewish. I'm pretty sure my husband Bruce converted because Mima asked him so many times if he was Jewish that he didn't want to let her down. I don't want to go on too long today because my Mima didn't beat around the bush. If there's one thing she was good at, it was being short, sweet, and to the point. So I'd like to use this time to tell you 3 of the things I'll remember about my grandmother. First, every birthday or anniversary, no matter the state of the economy or adjustment for inflation, Preston, Logan, Gregory, Alex, Bruce, and I could always expect to receive a $100 check. She would call you a couple days before the event and tell you 2 things. First, she'd sent our present in the mail, but it may not ever get to us because the mail is horrible and loses everything. And second, she'd say, "Don't spend it on bills, buy yourself something nice." She was the most frugal person I've ever known, but she wanted to make sure we weren't frugal with what she had to give us. Number 2, she was the queen of card games. Gin, rummy, canasta, hearts, bridge, she was good at them all. It probably had to do with her background in accounting and how she could think in numbers, as Catherine likes to say. She was left-brained. I have vivid memories of hours and hours of card games we played at Mima and Gigi's dining room table throughout my childhood. Third, her dedication to and love of family. Nothing gave her more joy than us all being together. The last time I spoke to her on the phone, I was out for a walk with Bruce and my cousin Gregory. 3 of us called to say hi and tell her we loved her. Known for her 2-minute phone calls, we didn't talk long, but she was so happy that we were together without our parents making us be together. Family was the highest value to her. I'll miss her physical presence on this earth, but I know she'll always be with me. Sorry. And maybe a bit more often, I'll even say yes to wearing a little lipstick. Love you, Mima.
So anybody that would like to reminisce a little bit? Maximum time limit, 2 minutes. Anybody want to say a few words? I think you said everything that there was to be said already. And anybody? Last call, your chance to be an assistant rabbi. Can I trouble you to hold on? What we're going to do now, we have 4 segments of the service left. And for those of you that are in the sun, I apologize. I'm moving as quickly as I can. By the way, you know when a rabbi says end in conclusion, it means he's halfway through. So be careful. We're going to do what's called Tziduk Hadin. God forbid when somebody dies, regardless of age, even an older person. And we love that person. We say, why did they have to die now? And if they would have lived another year, would the world have ended? Why did they have to die? It's a very compelling question, but there was no answer to it. But the rabbis understood that there was force behind it, so they stood the question on its head. Why did they live? Not why did they die? Were they a worthy person? Did they make the world better? Did they bring worthy children into the world? Did they teach their children how to be mentioned? Did they serve God? Did they do good things? Did they make the world a better place? And if we're fortunate enough, and not all people are, able to say, absolutely, that brings us the sense of comfort, which otherwise is just sorrow without end. So this is known as Tziduk Hadin. As I read it, you'll hear me say the word tzaddik, God is righteous, even though it doesn't feel that way at the cemetery. Hanun v'rachum, God is merciful. Doesn't feel that way at the cemetery. And the word emet, or emes, which means truth. We just see a little glimpse of time. And there's so many things we really can't understand. And sometimes we've all had the experience where something looks bad, but then it ultimately turns out to be good. So we understand that we're not in a position to judge the major questions of life and death. Hatzur tamim polo ki chol rochav mishpot el emunavi enovel tzadik v'yoshor hu. Hatzur tamim b'chol poal mi umal matifal. Ashalit b'matov v'mal memis mechayem urichol v'yoal. Hatzur tamim b'chol maaseh mi umal mataseh hamer v'oseh chesed chinam lo nutaseh u'v'zchus hanegad kuseh hakshiva v'aseh. Tzadik b'chol rochav hatzur tamim arechapayim u'molei rachamim. Among the Chusna Lavosa Bonim Kilchadon Aslichos Varachamim. Tzadik Hato Adonai Lamis Lachayos, Asher Biyoto Pikon Chol Ruchos. Cholila Lechos Ekronenu Limchos V'Yunei Echol Barachamim Alein Fekuchos. Kilchadon Arachamim Baslichos. Adon and Ben Shemar Yoel Shonim Yechem Yisrael Lo Tolo Yoyeh Baruch Dayan Hoemes. Nemis Lemachayeh. Dayan Emes, Shofet Tzedek V'Emes, Baruch Dayan Hoemes. שכל משפטו צדק ואמס נפש כל חי ביודך, צדק מול ימינך, לכן על פלט האסון יודך וסומר למלוך הרף יודך. אדוני נתן ואדוני לקח, יהי שם אדוני מבורך. The Lord has given and the Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. Urachem yichaper adon v'lo yashchis, yirabol hashiv apol v'lo yoir kol chamaso. Eternal God, our Creator, with the gift of your Spirit, we are formed, and take it in return, and we are the dust. We are grateful for the many blessings in the life of Marilyn and I. God, by grief because of their loss, her mourners turn to you seeking comfort and light. Word of compassion, grant them solace and strength, reinforce their faith, for you are our rock and our Redeemer. Adonai Nasan, Adonai Lakach, Yehi Shem Adonai Mevorach. The Lord has given and the Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. since it's so warm, I'm going to shorten my comments. And many of the things I was going to say were said before me. I'm going to give you all a Hebrew lesson. Her Hebrew name is Masha Basha. So Masha is the feminine of Moshe, of Moses. So what do we think about when we think of Moses? He was a determined person. He fought for what he thought was right and just, and he had a great love of the Jewish people. Does that sound a little bit like Marilyn? Mm-hmm. So in the Jewish tradition, our name sort of signifies our lifestyle. That's the Masha part. Now, Basha is not really the name. It rhymes, it sounds nice, Masha Basha. But the word, the name is Batya, daughter of God, a child of God. And she conducted herself as a child of God. She always wanted to do what was right. You couldn't deter her. If she thought something was right, she would fight like heck to get it done. And of course, unfortunately in synagogues, for everything you do, you find at least one critic to tell you a better way to do it or not to do it or how to do it. But that never deterred her. She was determined to do that. And she did have a great love, not only for all people, but specifically. A lot of Jews that are not involved love the human race, but they don't particularly care about the Jews. She cared about the Jewish people too. And when Temple Israel started to meld with another congregation, she was heartbroken by it. If she could have changed it single-handedly, she would have done it. It bothered her, God forbid, the death of a child. She was just devastated. So she is living up to her name. Strength, devotion, love of the Jewish people, and acting like a child of God and making the world a better place. That's how I remember you. We had a wonderful relationship. We have 3 more things to do. First is the El Mole. It's a prayer where we ask God to accept her soul. Then we have a special Kaddish, which is said only at the cemetery, in which we affirm our belief that someday, in the distant future, hopefully tomorrow, the world will become a perfect place. And why do we think that? Because if God is perfect, then sooner or later, everything he does has to end up in perfection. And there are moments in our lives when we can experience that. Right? All of your family, I don't know if there's some friends here too, they're here to support you. That's a beautiful moment. They could all be doing something else. So that's an example of what life might be like, not for a sad occasion, but for a good occasion. And then we're going to ask everybody to form 2 lines. Now, I have a problem with my fellow Jews forming 2 straight lines. I don't know why we have trouble. We're going to form 2 straight lines this way, from here out to there. 2 lines facing each other. The family's going to walk through, and that's our symbolic way of saying we're with you in your time of sorrow. At that point, the formal service will be over, and only one thing will remain, and that's to put earth on the casket. Now, a lot of people sort of feel funny. Rabbi, you want me to throw dirt on somebody I love? Well, that's not the way we look at it. We say it is an act of love, and when we handle the dirt, we feel a special feeling, because now we're tucking her in, so to speak, for one final time. It's optional. If you don't want to do it, you don't have to do it. We won't think less of you, but if you try it, you'll see it's a very comforting feeling. So that's where we stand. And speaking of standing, please rise. El Malay Lachamim, Shokim Bamramim, Hamsay Menochanachon Atachastan Feashkino, the Malos Kadoshim Utahorim Kazo, Araki Amasirim, Kazohara, Haraki Amasirim, Esni Shamas, Mashabasha, Bas Gershon Ve'etel. Shalachal li'olama begana yuden teimenucha kana balarachamim asira b'seita kanafech le'olamim u'tzaror b'tzul ha'chayim et nishmata Adonai nachalata v'tanua b'shalom al mishkava v'nomar Amen. O God, exalted and full of compassion, grant perfect peace in your sheltering presence among the holy and pure. for the soul of Marilyn Nye, who has gone to her eternal home. Master of mercy, we beseech you, remember all the worthy and righteous deeds that she has performed in the land of the living. May her soul be bound up in the bond of eternal life. May the Lord be her portion. May she rest in peace, and let us say, Amen. Do you have the special burial Kaddish cards?
Printed on the
You all
back of
have
the
them?
memorial
The
folder.
special Kaddish, the long Kaddish.
No, just the general Kaddish.
Just a general. Okay, so you guys sort of listen. The middle part is a little different. We'll start the first two words. First four words are the same, but from there on, the middle section will be different. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rava v'yomad v'huativ v'sadat l'chaya v'chaya l'saka yaton l'chaye omad v'mifnei kartad Yerushalem l'shachlala hechle b'gava v'mekar pochana l'sron min ala v'atava pochana d'ishmari atay v'yamech al-kutei v'yamlich kutshabrichu malkutei v'karei chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael Bagala Rizman Karim Vimru Amen. Yehei Shmei Rava Mevarach Miolam Lomeo Maya Yitbarech Vishtabach V'yitpahar V'yitromam V'yitnaseh V'yithadar V'yithaleh V'yithalal Shemei Kudsha Briyachu Le'ela Min Kol V'yichata V'shirata Tushmechata V'nechamata Amiran V'yoma Vimru Amen. Yehei Shlama Rabba Min Shemaya V'chayim Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael V'imru Amen. Oseh Shalom B'romav Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael V'imru Amen. Everybody but family, let's make the two lines. They're probably going to be very short lines. Is there anybody that's not family? I'm outnumbered here today. Please just walk by and then come back and sit down, and I'll show you how we're going to do it. You can leave if you want to take part in it. You're not mourners. Anyone that's not mourners. It was definitely not invented by Jews, I regret to say. That other great invention was not a straight line. Okay, guys, walk through.
Yeah.
Please. Please. Ready? Okay, here we go.
I love you.
Amakom, Yenachem Etken, B'kol Shar Evelei Zion B'Yerushalayim. May the Lord send you comfort with all those who mourn for Zion and for Jerusalem. The formal service is concluded, and if you can come back when you reach the end of the line, and then I'll show you how we put the earth in the grave. That's it. You have to make sure everybody behaves. Everybody please return to your places. I'm only going to impose on your time for 1 minute. Back to your places. Okay, okay. Parting is a very difficult thing. And the rabbis wanted to take advantage of that, even as we grieve and don't want to let go of somebody that we love so much. So the traditional way of putting the earth in with the shovel was to invert the shovel. To invert the shovel, and we do it 3 times. And when we finish, we don't give the shovel to the person behind us, because we want to slow down the process of saying farewell. So that's one method. If you prefer to use the shovel in the regular way, that's not a sin, but that's the custom that developed. You can take a handful of earth, put it in. And this is we're doing a snazzy funeral parlor here. If you want to use a cup to scoop up some dirt, you can put that in. If you use the shovel, we are providing hand sanitizer for you. So everybody can be comfortable doing what they do. that end, and we can make a line at this end. We want the mourners to please go first, and everybody else after that.
Would you like a cup?
No, I'm going to use the shovel when everybody else is finished.
Okay. Would anybody over there like a cup?
So Glenn, what is your field of law?
States, trust, planning.
Oh, estate. You take the earth from the top of the pile, it's much more cooperative.
I never do anything. It's what you're supposed to do.
No, you did fine.
I can't see. Between the mask and my glasses.
Right. You do well.
I'm trying. Oh, thank you so much.
Let's scoop up a little earth and put it in.
Thank you.
And by the way, this is considered one of the great mitzvahs because,
I'm assuming I'm family, right?
of course, you're family.
Well, I don't know what the definition of family is.
I'd like to point out why this is considered one of the great mitzvahs. If I do a favor for you, implicit in that, you owe me. I should be able to come to you to return the favor. When we bury the dead, it's a one-way, one unidirectional flow of love. We don't expect the dead person to come back and do us a favor. And that's why the rabbis listed that, among other things, as one of the great mitzvahs. It's done purely out of love. And there aren't that many occasions in our life when we can say that. So that's why I'm mentioning that. Actually, I see more than two people together with a compulsion to talk, but that's a different issue. Different issue. Everybody, my prayer for you is that you'll meet again soon for a happy occasion. You're a very nice group of people.
You say that every time.
No, I do not say that every time. And I don't make saints out of everybody that I bury, unfortunately.
Yeah, I know that.
Some rabbis do. I do not do that. Yeah, you can just put it back on the table, same size.
They're either
Anybody
fogged up or
else?
dry.
Anybody
Yeah.
else? I'm going to ask some of the younger guys, please, we want to cover the top of the casket with earth. Doesn't have to be deep, but we would like to cover the top of the
They want
casket.
some of the younger guys.
I'm not young.
Hey, one of your kids, I think it was, called me ma'am, and I was like, what?
One of my kids?
No, one of her kids. One of the kids.
Guys, can I trouble you, please? Who do you want to cover? Just to cover, a light cover.
I don't know how to do that. I love you. Give me a second one just to make up for all the time I haven't
Is
been
it? Over there.
Not good. How's the new place? I'm sure. It's got to be easier to clean, more comfortable, just because it's what she wanted. I know. When I saw that you were moving, I'm thinking about you. And then when he puts the thing on there about
You know,
shopping,
do you remember, did you ever meet
yes,
Catherine?
we did meet.
Yes.
Plague or a virus.
Yeah, I
What are you
know.
doing on
Nice to
online
see you.
shopping?
Yeah, nice to see you.
That's what
I
I don't catch much.
such a
I
loss
happened to
right
catch
now.
that when I started laughing.
She was your friend.
And you got a new home.
She was my friend too.
We loved each
So is it
other
closer
so
to the
much.
land?
It's in the land.
So
It's wonderful that you came in her life.
Yes, she said that to me many times.
Oh my God! So
I know.
that's awesome.
I know that.
Okay, I know where
I know, she told me.
the office is. So where would the home be? East, west, north, south? Yep, the office.
We live Just a flannel one.
Yes. Okay. There's there used to be a flea market sort of near that area. I remember I checked it out once. I didn't know that was coming. I thought